Hello. Today we're going to be talking about the differences and similarities between STI and STD. The first thing to understand is that STI stands for sexually transmitted infection and STD stands for sexually transmitted disease. At first glance, these two phrases may appear almost identical, and indeed, many medical institutions and professionals use the term interchangeably. Think on it for a moment, though, and you'll realize that infection and disease mean different things. In the medical community, an infection is defined as the invasion of the body by bacteria, viruses, or parasites. While an infection can cause symptoms and complications, altering the normal function of the body, it does not depend upon this by definition. A disease, by contrast, causes specific health complications. Simply put, a sexually transmitted infection is the broader term, and an STI on its own is not necessarily something that will develop into a disease. You may carry the infection and even be contagious, but it may never lead to any symptoms or cause you real health problems. Of the two terms, this makes STI slightly less definitive. It's also a phrasing that certain medical professionals hope will create less of a stigma around sex-related conditions. It's likely that this is the reason why you will no longer find the term STD used on sites like NHS or FPA. The latest report from Public Health England indicated that the most common STI and STD in the country is chlamydia, followed by genital warts, and other STIs to be aware of are genital herpes, syphilis, and HIV. Some of these infections and diseases are bacterial, which means they can usually be cured with a course of antibiotics. Others are viral, which means their symptoms can be managed, usually with antiviral medication, but they are harder to permanently eradicate. No two STIs or STDs are the same, but some have very similar symptoms. Common symptoms to watch out for include unusual discharge from the vagina or penis, pain while urinating, painful blisters around the genitals, fleshy growths around the genitals, tingling or itching around the genitals. In men, pain in the testicles. In women, pain in the pelvis or abdomen, and also in women, irregular periods or bleeding after sex. Two infections which have slightly more unusual symptoms are syphilis and HIV. The primary symptoms of syphilis can include one or more painless sores on the genitals, a rash and flu-like symptoms. The primary symptoms of HIV can include flu-like symptoms and a red rash across the body. It is also very important to understand that not all STIs and STDs initially present with symptoms. In fact, up to 70% of women don't experience symptoms when infected with chlamydia. For that reason, you should get tested after any episodes of unprotected sex, even if you're asymptomatic. There's a lot of facts and myths about STDs that aren't true, and these are a couple of them. You can't get an STD from oral sex, which is false. You are at risk. I've only had sex with one person. I can't have an STD. False. Your exposure is based on your partner's true history. You can't get an STD if you use a condom. False. Condoms can reduce risk but cannot eliminate it due to uncovered areas of skin. If treated once, you are immune to the disease. False. You can become infected again, and you can contract an STD from a toilet seat, which is extremely unlikely that would happen. A couple ways to prevent an STD or an STI are firstly being abstinent, and that means that's the most reliable way to avoid infection, and it's to not have sex of any kind. Vaccines, and these are safe and effective and recommended ways to prevent diseases like hepatitis B and HPV. Reduce number of sex partners. Reducing your number of sex partners can decrease your risk for STDs. It's still important that you and your partner get tested and that you share your test results with one another. Mutual monogamy, and that means that you agree to be sexually active with only one person who has agreed to be sexually active only with you. And finally, using condoms. Using them correctly and consistent is highly effective in reducing STD transmission. And that's it. The works cited will be attached to the link of this video. Thank you.